hope you feel like it's okay to be honest, and it's okay to ask for help. It's simply a part of being a human. Jamie Tworkowski. I think this is my first vlog in my new dorm room, so welcome to my humble abode. Life is very busy, but very good. Classes are coming to an end. Exams are, sorry, I have to look at my calendar, 2 weeks away. Exams are 2 weeks away. Work is going really well. I love being a resident assistant. I love so many of the things that I'm getting to do. While this quarter has not been perfect, it has still been a very, very good time. And it's getting better. And I want to talk about that better. So I'm going to get straight to the point. I don't think that we talk about mental health as much as we should in the physical illness realm. I think that the chronic illness and disability community is composed of people with so many different conditions, mental and physical, and I love that. And I think there's a lot of value in the fact that we all have these common experiences. But I think that sometimes in the physical illness community, world, whatever, but I think sometimes people who have physical chronic conditions sometimes forget that their own mental health is important. And maybe that's just me speaking from my experience, but it's definitely something that I've been thinking about a lot more this quarter. My mental health was bad long before my physical health took a turn for the worst. And it was something in high school that I was really good at managing. I saw a therapist regularly, I took my medication every morning. I was really aware of the fact that I needed to take care of my mind and my brain and my well-being. And because that was the biggest thing that I had to focus on, outside of work and school and being a teenager and college applications and all those other things you deal with when you're in high school, that was the self-care that I really had to do. When my physical health got worse, it kind of took a backseat because taking my medication and journaling and practicing reflection and going to a therapist didn't feel as important as learning to walk again. And that is a mistake that I made, thinking that I was fine, that I would be okay without my medication, that I had done enough work to, let that kind of sit and not really focus on it. And so on my gap year, I was kind of off and on about taking my meds. I was still taking them most days, but I wasn't taking them at a consistent time. I was forgetting every now and then, and I definitely wasn't seeing a therapist. I think I maybe saw my therapist maybe twice on my gap year, just because I couldn't drive myself to my therapist. I couldn't go see them. But again, I figured it was fine. In college, things got so busy. I was so tired. I was having to deal with not being able to go to bed and wake up whenever I wanted. I was dealing with all these new responsibilities, a lot more chronic pain, and my eating schedules weren't very regular, and I just kind of stopped taking my antidepressants. Not intentionally, but more like, one day I'd forget, and then I'd remember the next day, but then I'd wake up late the next day after that, and I just wouldn't have taken it because it was already too late in the day to take it. Or I'd go on a weekend trip with somebody and I'd forget to bring my medication, or I'd forget to bring it with me to take with breakfast. And it just kind of became more and more frequent that I was forgetting to take it. And over the summer this year, I misplaced my meds entirely when I was moving and was like, it's probably fine. I feel like I'm doing okay. I feel like everything's under control. Maybe I don't need my medication anymore. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. My mental health didn't get as bad that summer as it had been in the past, but I could slowly feel it coming on. And if you've ever struggled with mental illness, you start to recognize what your warning signs are, just like you recognize signs of a flare-up with physical health. I could just feel my mood and my attitude and my anxiety, all of that just shifting, and I could feel social interactions getting a lot harder, and I could feel myself getting a lot harsher on myself. Bad things happening just really destroyed me. And again, it wasn't as awful as it was in high school. It was really bad in high school. I could sense that it wasn't great. I've been thinking about it a lot, and the way that I've been explaining it to people is like this. My physical health is like a house fire. My house is on fire, everything is up in flames and smoke, and I'm just running around frantically trying to throw water on things and take care of this fire because I don't want my house to burn down. My mental health is like a nail in my shoe at the same time. It's a lot less pressing of an issue because the house is on fire and the nail is just in my shoe. The nail is not going to destroy everything yet, but it's still not great. I'm running around and it's stabbing me in the foot and it's slowing me down, and it's not completely stopping me from doing things, but it is sure impairing my ability to fight the fire. If I just stopped for a second and took the nail out of my shoe, I could fight the fire so much better and faster and easier. But because the house is on fire, I feel like I can't afford to stop and take that nail out. And so everything is just awful because I'm not fully taking care of either issue. Well, I decided it was time to take that nail out of my shoe. So I went to our school's student counseling services and I got in touch with a therapist and a psychiatrist, and we talked for a little bit, and they were like, I think you're right. I think you need to go back on your medication and let's get you on that. So I've been taking it. I finally got back on schedule and back up to the right dosage. I've been taking it very regularly. I brought out my pill box again to start using, which I really hadn't used since my gap year. But I keep it now on the corner of my desk with all my pills in it for the day so that it's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is take my medication. And wow, it has made a really big difference. I think when my mental health starts getting worse, it kind of slowly creeps in, like so much so that I don't really notice it's bad until it's getting really bad. And once it starts getting better, I realize that it's been bad for a long time and I just didn't feel it getting worse. I had this big existential crisis, and if you follow me on Instagram or you know me in real life, I talked about it, and it was kind of a mess, to be quite honest. When I'm off my medication, I feel overwhelmingly numb. Like I feel sad things and awful things really, really strongly, but for the most part, I just feel numb. When I get back on my medication, those feelings start to come back, but they do not come back all at once. So I had this huge existential crisis. I felt so anxious, I felt so worried and scared, and it was just, your usual existential crisis, just worried about everything and scared about everything and wondering what my purpose in the universe is and what I'm doing with my life. And I could not make sense of why I had all this existential dread all at once so strongly until 2 days later, I was going about my day and just felt overwhelmingly happy and energetic and enthusiastic. Like I had more energy emotionally than I'd had in such a long time. Like I came home and I was so happy. Like I felt like I could lift a car, like not physically, but like I could emotionally lift a car, And it kind of hit me and I was like, oh, like it's working. The medication is coming back. And that's why I had that existential crisis, because I don't feel happiness first. I feel sometimes anger or sadness or existential dread or whatever before all those emotions come back and I feel happy and like a human being again. And it's been great. I'm kind of, now that I have this energy, I'm kind of like on the accessibility warpath. I've been sending so many emails to people at my school and people in different groups and people in government trying to get more things started. I've been doing so much more to try to fight for accessibility and disability rights. So I guess the long and short of it is medication is really powerful and really important, and you shouldn't feel bad about taking it. It also helps a lot. If you are physically ill and in pain a lot, it is probably going to affect your mental health in some way, shape, or form, and I would highly recommend talking to a therapist or a counselor or somebody who can maybe talk to you about whether or not the things that you're sometimes feeling because of your physical health might be affecting your mental health, and maybe that's something that you need to talk to somebody about or get help for, and there's no shame in getting help. Another thing I've been thinking about a lot is how people make metaphors about mental illness, and they say things like, you know, nobody brings you flowers when you have depression, but they do when you have a surgery or you break your leg. Or you wouldn't tell somebody with diabetes not to take their insulin, but we tell people that they don't need medication for their mental illness. And I've been finding more and more that while mental health is often, you know, looked down on and invalidated in a lot of ways, I think that also happens to people with chronic illnesses of any kind. And so maybe it's, you know, this country, America, has a huge issue with mental health and stigma, and that really needs to be addressed. So I don't want to say that mental health is not stigmatized, but I do think that maybe some of those things are just like across all chronic illnesses, because people don't bring you flowers when you have chronic pain, and people don't bring you flowers when you have flare-ups of the health condition that you have, or when you've had like the upteenth surgery to fix X or Y in your body. People still tell you that like maybe you don't need that medication, like maybe if you just tried yoga, all your problems would be fixed. And you're like, my body's a wreck, Karen. Pilates is, one, not even possible for me, but two, certainly not going to help me. I think there's a lot of stigma around mental health, and I think there's a lot of stigma around being ill in general, and I think that sucks. And it's something that now that I have all this newfound energy, I want to keep talking about and fighting for. So this has been kind of a long, rambling, roundabout way of me saying that my mental health is a lot better than it has been probably in the last year and a half or so, and I'm really happy about that. And it's a lot easier to go about life with just my house on fire than it is to go about life with my house on fire and a nail in my shoe. So I'm sorry for the amount of metaphors in this video. I just want to say, I hope you are taking care of you. I hope you know that healing and taking care of all parts of you is important and valid, and it's always, always, always okay to ask for help and for support. So that's been me rambling, and hopefully we'll talk about some more stuff soon. Until next time.